Hello everyone, this is Serious Trivia, and welcome back to part 3 of our Taming of the Shu series titled The Invitation. Now before we begin, there is a correction that needs to be made. At the end of our last episode, I mentioned there were those within Liu Zhang's court that opposed Zhang Song's suggestion of inviting Liu Bei to help them defend the northern boundaries from a potential attack from Zhang Lu and Cao Cao. And I mentioned that advisor Huang Quan spoke out against the plan in court, which was factual, but he was not the one to hang himself from the city gates trying to stop Liu Zhang from sending off Zhang Song and Fa Zheng off to see Liu Bei, as after Huang Quan had opposed the plan, Liu Zhang demoted him and exiled him to become just the mayor of the town of Guanghan. So by the time Liu Zhang was sending off Zhang Song and Fa Zheng off at the city gate, it was actually another advisor named Wang Lei who hung himself at the city gates as he tried to convince Liu Zhang to change his mind. Of course, the rest of the story is the same, as Liu Zhang would not be threatened by his own subordinate, as he would ignore Wang Lei and saw Zhang Song and Fa Zheng off, only for Wang Lei to remain true to his word as he cut the cloth that was hanging him off the city wall to meet his doom as he crashed headfirst into the ground in protest. Now, with that out of the way, we can return to Liu Bei, who upon receiving Zhang Song and Fa Zheng, was not only delighted that Liu Zhang had offered him this free ticket to bring an armed force into an otherwise impenetrable Shu land, but at the same time offering him extra troops and supplies. On top of this, both Zhang Song and Fa Zheng expressed their interest in helping Liu Bei take the Yi province from Liu Zhang, as both of them, as well as many others within the Yi province, believed that Liu Zhang was a weak lord, ill-suited for the turbulent time that they now live in. Now, we already explained Zhang Song's motivations, as it stems largely from his personal ambitions and a certain degree of insecurity based on his physical appearance, leading to a rather unhealthy revenge mentality against those who perceive to have slighted him, which include both Liu Zhang and Cao Cao. Now, Fa Zheng still needs a proper introduction. Born in 176 in the town of Fufeng, which is located west of Chang'an, Fa Zheng was born into a well-respected but minor gentry clan. His great-grandfather had been administrator of the Nan Commandery in the Jin province, and his grandfather was a well-known Confucian divination scholar, which was a unique but popular branch of Confucianism during the Qin Han period that deified both Confucius and the emperor. Then Fa Zheng's father, Fa Yan, would eventually earn himself a position in the imperial court, but by Fa Zheng's time, the chaos following the Yellow Turban Rebellion and Dong Zhuo's takeover led to numerous famines across the land. And it was during one such famine that Fa Zheng, along with his close childhood friend, Meng Da, would decide to join the refugees and escape south as they would migrate into the Yi province in order to survive. And this would eventually become the group of migrant refugees that would be called the Dongzhou migrants, meaning the eastern province migrants, as they all came from the quote-unquote eastern provinces, as east being relative only to the Yi province, which is one of the most western provinces on the map. So all these provinces that are coming in are quote-unquote eastern provinces, even though if you're taking the perspective of, say, the Qing province, obviously these would not be very eastern provinces. But for those of you who remember our Let's Talk Lore series on Liu Yan, you might remember that these refugees would eventually become a considerable political and military force under Liu Yan, as he too tried to use outsiders to help establish power within the Yi province, as he himself was also an outsider. And as we continue with this series, we'll start to hint at the political divide within the Yi province, as even once Liu Bei takes over, there will actually be 3 cliques within the Shu Han government, with the original gentry clans of the Yi province, the Dongzhou cliques, and those from the Jin province who enter the Yi province alongside with Liu Bei. And it is the struggle between these 3 different groups that will shape much of the internal politics of the Shu Han court, especially after the death of Liu Bei, which is a discussion for another time. Now, after Fa Zheng, migrated into the Yi province, he struggled for quite a long time to earn himself a political career despite his lineage, as many in the Yi province looked down on the Dongzhou migrants. Eventually, Fa Zheng managed to become the mayor of a new town before being promoted into a military advisor role. However, because of his status as the Dongzhou migrant, no one took his advice seriously as he was marginalized at work. So naturally, as two struggling advisors, Fa Zheng and Zhang Song hit it off and became close friends. And thus, when Zhang Song came back from his envoy mission to Cao Cao in 208, he ended up recommending Fa Zheng to take on a new envoy mission to Liu Bei, as he had suggested to Liu Zhang to abandon the alliance with Cao Cao in favor of Liu Bei. So all the way back in 208, Fa Zheng had already met Liu Bei, and after spending a brief amount of time within Liu Bei's camp, Fa Zheng, like many others, were captivated by Liu Bei, as he would soon join Zhang Song's plot to help Liu Bei overthrow Liu Zhang and take control of the Yi province. Now in 211, Fa Zheng once again makes his way back to Liu Bei, except this time he is leading 2,000 troops along with his childhood friend Meng Da, who is leading another 2,000, as they, along with Zhang Song, sailed from the Yi province to officially extend Liu Zhang's invitation to Liu Bei. And of course, with the support of his own advisors like Zhuge Liang, as well as the inside help from the likes of Zhang Song and Fa Zheng, Liu Bei happily accepted the invitation, as he took roughly 20,000 troops with him from Jiangling. In terms of generals brought, Liu Bei only took Huang Zhong with him, while Guan Yu, Zhang Fei, and Zhao Yun all stayed behind in the Jin province. Now, of course, Wei Yan would also soon rise to become a general for Liu Bei, but this time, Wei Yan was just a common soldier within Liu Bei's personal guards, who will shine during this campaign for Shu and rise to generalship. Now, Liu Bei left behind most of his talented generals for two reasons. First and foremost, the Jin province was their base. To the north is Cao Cao, and to the east is an untrustworthy alliance with Sun Quan. So Liu Bei had to keep his core forces here, or else he risked becoming homeless if the takeover of the Yi province goes south. Second, Liu Bei didn't want to give Liu Zhang any reason to fear him, as he wanted to appear weak in order to earn Liu Zhang's trust and farther support in terms of more troops and supplies. And in this sense, this lack of general also contributed to the discovery of talented officers like Wei Yan, as he would go on to become a key general for Shu Han. Now, for advisors, Liu Bei opted to bring Pang Tong rather than Zhuge Liang, as Zhuge Liang's managerial talents was sorely needed in the Jin province, as they were still in the process of re-establishing order in their newly acquired land. As for Liu Zhang's envoy, Zhang Song would be sent back to Liu Zhang to inform him of Liu Bei's acceptance and imminent arrival. Fa Zheng would stay with Liu Bei and become one of his key advisors going forward, while his friend Meng Da would be kept in the Jin province to help Guan Yu defend Jiangling. For those of you well versed in Three Kingdom history, you might already know what happens with Meng Da in the future, and given his colorful life, we'll definitely feature him in a future series. But for now, we're going to keep that a secret. Now, Liu Bei would travel non-stop until his army would reach the town of Pei, northeast of Chengdu. Here, Liu Zhang would come to greet him, along with an army of 30,000. Now, in hindsight, I think Liu Zhang was very well aware of the potential danger of welcoming in Liu Bei, and that his life could come under threat, which is why he brought this sizable force with him to meet Liu Bei inside the Yi province. But after his meeting with Liu Bei, Liu Zhang was disarmed, as regardless of your opinion of Liu Bei's portrayal in the Romance of Three Kingdoms, all historical records indicate that he was charismatic and a disarming individual, as every single warlord of the period that would meet him would be disarmed and charmed by him, including Cao Cao. And for the next 100 days, Liu Zhang would host a feast here in Liu Bei's honor, as Liu Bei's forces were given ample supplies and the commanding seal of the Baishui Pass forces, as Liu Zhang asked Liu Bei to use this garrison at the foremost pass to attack Zhanglu in an attempt to pacify him before Cao Cao's rumored invasion on Hanzhong. Now, as we previously mentioned in our introduction of the Bashu region, the only route suitable for marching armies into this Yi province is the Shu Dao, or the Road of Shu, that comes from Hanzhong. And this route has to cross the Baishui River, or the White River, which is why Baishui Gate is essentially the northern gateway into the Yi province. And due to its importance, Liu Zhang had 10,000 troops stationed here at all time, under the command of Yang Huai and Gao Pei, who were technically Liu Zhang's best and most trusted generals. So in essence, even though Liu Zhang would hand over the commanding seals of Baishui Gate and its forces over to Liu Bei, Liu Zhang still trusted these two officers to hold down the fort if Liu Bei tried anything funny. Yet Liu Bei didn't do any funny business, as he didn't do anything at all. Once the feast was over, and Liu Zhang had returned to Chengdu, Liu Bei did not march all the way to Baishui Gate, nor did he launch attack against Liu Zhang in Hanzhong. Instead, Liu Bei stopped his forces at Jiameng Pass and advanced no farther. And for the next year, Liu Bei would be busy bribing the local populace with supplies from Liu Zhang as he takes on the role of a candidate running for election rather than a general. Now, fortunately, the situation in the north also turned out in favor of Liu Bei, as Cao Cao's intentions to attack Zhanglu ended up sparking a widespread rebellion by the Xiliang warlords, as similar to Liu Zhang, they had thought Cao Cao's true target was them instead. So faced with this new rebellion in the Xiliang region, all plans for a Hanzhong campaign were scrapped. And as for Zhanglu, after seeing that Liu Bei had no interest for war, he also decided to stay put, as he too had no interest in provoking Liu Bei either. And we will of course be covering this Xiliang rebellion headed by Ma Chao in our very next series. But for now, all we need to know is that the threat that Liu Zhang was afraid of never actually materialized. So his invitation of Liu Bei turned out to be a big waste of supplies, as Liu Bei in turn used these excess supplies to buy popular support in the region rather than launching any offensive attack on behalf of Liu Zhang. Then by 212, the situation changed, as Cao Cao, after wrapping up his western campaign, suddenly shifted focus towards the south again, as he would march on Sun Quan at Ruxukou after Sun Quan moved his capital to Jianye. And with Cao Cao's growing threat in the south, Sun Quan would actually call for aid, as Liu Bei was his ally. So by this time, Liu Bei got the request in the Yi province that Sun Quan was looking for help, and he decided to turn this into an excuse to ask Liu Zhang for more aid. Liu Bei claimed that his presence in the north has stopped any signs of aggression for the past year, and it's time to repay that favor. He needed 10,000 more troops and supplies so that he can return back to the Jin province to help his in-law and ally Sun Quan to hold off Cao Cao. Now, of course, Liu Bei had no intentions of actually leaving the Yi province, as he merely wanted to sap more manpower from Liu Zhang. But after seeing Liu Bei's intentions for the last year, Liu Zhang also wisened up, as he now only wanted Liu Bei out of the Yi province. But not willing to part with 10,000 men as a parting gift, he told Liu Bei that he had only 4,000 men to spare and only half of the requested supplies, as he hoped that Liu Bei would just take this and leave. But as we all know, Liu Bei had no intentions of leaving, and after receiving this reinforcement and resupply, Liu Bei started to rally his troops as he decried the injustice, as he claimed that Liu Zhang has been mistreating them by not providing them with enough food and supplies. However, before his rallying cry would turn violent, an unexpected event would upend Liu Bei's plot and almost doom Liu Bei. And to find out what that event is, come back next time as we'll continue our Taming of the Shu series, with war finally breaking out between Liu Zhang and Liu Bei, as the battle for the Yi province will finally kick off. So hopefully you all enjoy this episode, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!